Hello, this is a video that's going to try and give a worked example of the benefits of using paper space in AutoCAD. This is unscripted, unrehearsed, so if I wobble a bit at places, then I apologise in advance. Now, what I'm going to show you first is a diagram, basically kind of trying to explain what we're trying to do. Now, pretend we're the designer, okay? We're going to create a drawing of a classroom, and the project is a refit of that classroom. You know, a refresh. I'm going to refresh the flooring, the furniture, the electrics, etc. So, as the designer, we've got to consider all those various aspects of the design. So we'd start off with the shape of the room, and then I'll draw a floor pattern, I'll set out my lighting, and I'll show the furniture and even the computers that are going to go on the desks. So I'm in control of all these aspects. Excuse me. Now, this job needs to go out to get priced. You can't just kind of throw it out there and expect somebody to do it. We've got to send the information out to the various people to get prices back. So there'd be a carpet fitter involved. So we need to know how much the flooring is going to cost. So that guy needs to get information, you know, that's relevant or pertinent to his trade. So for the cost of a carpet, it's very dependent on the shape of the room. You know, if it's a simple rectangle, dead easy. If there's all sorts of other shapes, then there's a lot of wastage. So the carpet fitter needs to know the shape of the room and anything related to the pattern, how the designer wants the carpet laid. Is it going to line up with something specifically, or is it just left to the carpet fitter to just do the job? Okay, we want to refresh the lighting in the room. So the electrical contractor, he also would probably need to know the room shape. He needs to know where things are going to be placed. Okay, and he needs to know how many light fitments are going to be needed. But he's not interested in the floor pattern. That's nothing of his interest to him. So the drawing that he gets is a combination of room shape and light fitments. We've then got two other people involved in this project, a furniture supplier and somebody supplying the computers. They really aren't that bothered about the shape of the room. They're just counting desks or counting machines. So their drawings could basically be fairly abstract. They don't need to necessarily see any of this other information. Okay, so that's the kind of premise. That's how we kind of want to structure the information. So the colours that I've used here, these will reflect in the layer colours that I've chosen for the drawing. So the flooring information is purple, the light fitting information is pale blue, and you'll see that in the drawing. So I'm going to go straight to the finished drawing. Okay, we're not going to sit working through a drawing. That's not what this exercise is about here. It's really just to show you the benefits of using paper space. So I'm using Alt-Tab on the keyboard to jump to another drawing that's already open. And you can see it here. So this looks fairly complicated. And this is the view that you, as the designer, would expect to see. You've got all the various layers of information all visible on screen at the same time. But through the layers command, you've got control over this. So if I want to simplify things and I want to work on the electric layout for a while, I might turn off the flooring layer. Okay, things look instantly a bit easier to understand. I can move my lights around and not be distracted by the flooring information. Okay, so this is the designer's view, and this is all worked in what's called model space. When we want to extract the information for other people, what we do is we don't strip this drawing out and send lots and lots of versions of the drawing. That's unnecessary. What we do is generate a layout for each person, and we send them printouts of their relevant information. They may get digital information as well, but things aren't a fully digital world yet. Some people prefer to receive a drawing with a drawing number. They refer to that drawing number for costing purposes, and there's a paper trail then that can be followed through the job. So let's have a look at layout 1. I've set this up for us, for the designer. We might want to print this out so we can discuss it over with our boss or whatever, or the rest of the design team. So I'm going to click on layout 1 and show you what I've got. I've set this up as an A1 sheet of paper with a viewport, that's this item here, and the viewport is showing everything that's in model space. So this is the designer's printout, if I want to print this out for discussion in the office. So let's make it easier to understand what's going on in the drawing. Let's right click this. If I right click the layout tab, I can rename it, and I'm going to make it very specific. Put my caps lock on. Designers A1. So I know the paper size, that's my information. Okay, now let's set up a new layout for the other people involved in the project. So let's quickly look at the list again. We've got carpet fitter, electrical, furniture and computer. So the next guy who's going to get an extract from this information is going to be the carpet fitter. Okay, so you right click the layout and then go for move or copy. Okay, I want the new layout to be created at the end of this list after designers A1. Create a copy of it and OK. Okay, remember this is for the carpet guy. So let's go to this layout and we'll rename it to carpet. Oops. Right, now the difference is in how we control the layers. Okay, so we have a viewport here, and within this particular viewport we can start turning off information that would confuse the carpet layer. Okay, so you activate the viewport, so you double click inside it, drop the list of layers down, and the carpet layer doesn't need to know anything about the lighting. He doesn't need to know anything about the furniture specifically. See the layers disappearing as we go. He obviously needs to know the flooring information. It would help him to know where the doors are. That might determine, how many edge trims he needs to cover doorways. But he doesn't need to know about the computers. Okay, I've finished turning off the layers that are relevant. I'll keep the walls layer on. Now when I've finished doing that, I double click outside the viewport, and that's the information that he needs. If I jump back to the designer's layout, all the information's still there. To the carpet fitter's layout, it's a stripped down version. It's lots more clarity for the carpet layer there. Let's carry on and create the other three. So right click carpet, well, I may as well right click designers A1 because the layers are all on that one. So right click designers A1, move or copy, move to the end, create a copy, and OK. Okay, this one was going to be the electrical information. So right click it, rename it, call this electrics, double click inside the viewport, and then we start tailoring the display to suit the electricians. He doesn't need to know where the computers are. He might do if we were asking him to provide sockets, but in this example we're not. So we'll take the computers off. He may as well get where the door positions are. He doesn't need to know the flooring information, and he doesn't need to know the furniture information. So he's got an abstract, as again, just like the carpet layer has. So we can see that in model space all our information's still there, it hasn't changed. But in these two layouts we've got specific information for these guys. Okay, let's copy this electrics one instead this time. Move it to the end, create a copy, and OK. We rename it, and this is going to be the furniture supplier. And just a little swap over here now. We freeze the lighting, but bring back on the furniture. So he can count the desks and chairs that are needed in this room. And the final layout that's needed is one for our computer supplier. So we'll rename this to computers. Make sure we're on the right layout, double click inside, and what we might do here is indicate that the computer is going to be on desks, so we'll keep the furniture on, but add on computers. So the computer chap can count 10, 20, 31 computers needed in this teaching laboratory. And that, in a nutshell, is how, you know, the reason for using Paperspace. You know, if I go back to model space and I change something, perhaps I make the teacher's desk a double desk. So I'll copy the desk. Then when I go back to the furniture layout, we see that the desk is there. You know, I just reissue this drawing advising that there's been a change in the design, extra tables been added, and the furniture chap can reprice. The other people aren't impacted by that, so they don't need to necessarily get the drawing again. Okay, so we haven't covered how you set up the layout, but that's been covered in a number of my other videos, so we'll not waste our time there. It's really, you know, just showing you the benefit, you know, in the issuing of information as to why Paperspace is so useful. You know, its other huge advantage is that things can be represented at different scales. So perhaps the let's say the computer guy, the only way we can get in touch with him is on a fax machine. So we can't get this A1 drawing to him across the planet quickly enough. So what we could do is change the setup for this particular layout. So I'm going to the page setup manager. It's just off the screen here, unfortunately. So I'll go to page setup manager. I'll modify the computer's layout only. It's going to be a PDF because I want to print it out onto paper before I put it in the fax machine, but it's going to be an A4 size instead, and this will be probably landscape, can stay landscape. Okay, and then I can resize this. I resize the viewport first, bring it onto the paper inside the printing margins, and then I double click inside the viewport. If I do a double middle click, brings the view into, brings the whole drawing into view. That might suffice because the guy's only counting computers, he's not measuring them, so this drawing's not to scale. But I could test out a couple of scales, see what might work. Look at the viewport scale tab down here, and it looks like 1 to 10 is probably going to be suitable. Oh, no, far too big. What am I doing? maybe 1 to 20. I can't count, sorry. Let's try 1 to 50, still too big. Looks like it's a 1 to 100 that will work here. So he can get a 1 to 100 drawing if he wants, or just double click and it's fitting the paper. So nobody's changed the size of anything here, it's all done through the layouts. We've got a 1 to 100 on an A4 here, I've got a 1 to 25 on an A1 next to it. Different scale, different people might need different ways of working. So I hope that's kind of explained a little bit of the logic behind Paperspace. The designer has all their information at the same time under their control, the full picture if you like. We then take abstracts of that for the various people involved in the project, essentially trying not to confuse them. If you give people too much information, then they can't see you can't understand what they're trying to pick out of that information. They didn't draw it. They're not so au fait with the drawing. They don't know why things are there, what shapes represent. That's all in the designer's remit. We try and simplify things for the other people so that we get more accurate prices and more accurate work and finished buildings. Okay, thanks for listening.